since at least, I guess, 2003 would have been the first time I heard that particular term mentioned. It was also called the elder race. This is nothing new. A lot of different insiders had that coming out, and I've been leaking it and talking about it for many years. Elder race, ancient builder race, nothing new. And the reason why they call it the ancient builder race is because they're very ancient and they were building things. So the history goes back over 2 billion years. That was one of the things that the insiders were telling me. I got great details about this from Bruce, from the insider Henry Deacon, from Uncle Jack, as well as Montauk Daniel or Bruce Perrett. This is a galactic group, they believe. That's what they were being told. And that this group was going around and building stargates on various worlds that they visit. So, like, for example, Bruce Perrett, i.e. Montauk Daniel, was one of the first insiders I met. And this is going back now to, he actually showed up at L&L Research in 2003. Maybe it was 2004. No, it was the end of 2003. And he was telling me that we have Stargate, that there's a Stargate on Earth. There's an ancient Stargate built by, again, Elder Race or Ancient Builder Race. He used both terms. And that this Stargate had the address 7.5.3.74. Ooh. I guess I forgot the address. Holy crap. 753.80.74. Shoot. It's in my slide somewhere, but I have the whole thing in another slide. I think it's 8074, or I'm sorry, I lost the number. It's been so long. But anyway, me too, I had a crash. Let's see, do we have comments coming in? Okay, they're still coming in, that's good. 84 70 24 606, that's what it is. 753 84 70 24 606. I finally remembered it. Okay, good. You gave the Stargate address in the previous show. You definitely know it. Yes, I finally remembered it. Took a while to get it back. Anyway, they build various Stargates on the worlds that they visit. He said that there's at least one Stargate on each planet. And so, again, the show Stargate SG-1 is loaded with disclosure. Very, very interesting. And yes, 606, the last one, is the address of Earth. So there's a 3-digit address at the end. And depending on what it is, it determines which planet you actually go to. He said address number 1 was on an asteroid around a pulsar, believe it or not. So, yeah, it's fascinating how these things correlate and all the data that came together from just Bruce alone. And again, multiple insiders all talking about this group of ancient builders that were going around and building, pyramids, obelisks, maybe even Stonehenge type of structures, some of which were done out of this indestructible glass, this beautiful clear glass, and that they build these on every world where intelligent life forms. So the ancient builder race, their hypothesis in these secret programs, the so-called legacy program, is that this is a galactic level situation. The Law of One kind of agrees with that they've been out there for a long, long time. And I like learning about the good ETs, says Sarah Love. Yes, we're still holding true at 3,443 viewers. We've got a very solid audience here. Thank you guys for being here. So they build, again, glass-like pyramids, obelisks, and domes using some type of transparent aluminum material that is 500% stronger than bulletproof glass. It's surprising how often we heard the same story, that our local solar system here has these all over the place. These builders kept doing this again and again and again, that it's actually like the solar system is like a cosmic junkyard. So that was very, very cool to find that out, that it's not only our solar system, but it's several neighboring solar systems as well. And this, again, came from everybody from Bruce Perrett to Hoagland's first insider, who I first met in 2007, talking about these glass-like pyramids. It's a very commonly heard subject that I found incredibly fascinating. And then, whoops, we also heard that they were building Death Stars. So this is another thing that's really, really interesting. Our own solar system has a series of ancient builder race moons where they took existing moons that were already here, or maybe they brought them in from somewhere else, and then they equipped them with machinery and technology so that they could actually defend us against threats. And originally, this was like a Garden of Eden. It was like a little promised land where everybody gets this technology benefiting them, the technology that will allow you to, be protected from harm. Pretty freaking cool. So, yep, you're right. Super Sleuth 3527, clear glass, transparent aluminum, was covered in the Star Trek movie when they went back in time to retrieve a pair of whales. And that's, again, I believe, Star Trek 4, The Voyage Home, or Journey Home, something like that. So, Midnight Mark says, what was the material that came from your eye, David? Well, I don't know what you're talking about there, but we did have a strange little crystal that showed up in my eye when I had a sty, because I was using colloidal silver. So it might have been a silver crystal, but it looked like a little tiny quartz crystal. That was in one of my reels here. But yeah, so this stuff really fascinates me because it goes beyond the narrative that we're getting, the same old tired narrative. The story is going to get deeper. It is going to get more fascinating. Again, it all leads back to benevolent extraterrestrials trying to help us out, trying to get us ahead in the universe to the next level. So they apparently, the ancient builder race apparently created this protective system for our solar system that would identify any negative alien races trying to get in here and would zap them. So you literally could not invade. And I've also heard from various insiders that as you go towards the center of our galaxy, that there's many of these, that the center of the galaxy is host to a variety of places. David cries tears of gold. David is cranking out silver. That's funny. That as you go towards the center of the galaxy, that there are entire areas where the negative can't go. In fact, the Draco have been defeated throughout most of our galaxy. There's only a few places left they can visit. And so, how interesting that is. Our own moon is apparently the most advanced crown jewel of this ancient build-out collection. And like the whole concept of Rendezvous with Rama, the idea that it could transport an entire population from planet to planet. But, that's like the Noah's Ark, the cosmic rescue plan for a given population. Again, showing that there are some very powerful beings involved in this that can do amazing stuff. Really, really amazing stuff. Many of the moons in our solar system apparently have these very ancient bases and build-outs inside of them to make them part of this originally protective grid. So here are selected moons of the solar system with the Earth for scale. The Earth's moon is pretty big compared to all the others out there. Jupiter's moons, it has Io, Europa, Ganymede, Callisto. Saturn has a really big one, Titan. Neptune has a really big one, Triton, as you can see there. And we're also going to look at Uranus's moon, Miranda. You see that one there. So some of these actually have build-outs in them, believe it or not. That's what we're learning. Uranus's moon, Miranda, is probably one of the most provocative ones of all in terms of just the raw power of the data and what we're seeing here. And I've showed this in talks many times before, but it's still pretty freaking amazing to bring this up again. It has extremely outrageous visible geometry, and it was first mentioned, the first time I saw it mentioned was by Zecharia Sitchin in his classic book, Genesis Revisited. So here it is from far away, but you notice it almost looks like the Nike, like a Nike symbol or like a Star Trek communicator device. Squint your eyes a little bit, it's like, whoa, what the heck is that? There's this white geometric line on the moon. And so sure enough, there it is on the left, and you can see that there's something really weird going on there, and then I'm drawing in these triangles on the right. So yeah, that's very, very strange, isn't it? And if we tilt it sideways here, there's this cliff that's also like the tallest cliff in the entire solar system. It's actually, like you can see, it's like 5 kilometers tall, the steepest cliff in the solar system, almost like this thing's got a build-out inside, and it's constructed this way. if you go farther over from that weird shape, that geometric shape, you have what looks like pentagonal geometry there. So this is very, very curious, right? Just going back again, even when you look at it from far away, there's visible geometry right on the surface. And yeah, we'll talk a lot more about the moon going on in a little bit, but we're not there yet. So Miranda is a really, really cool example. It's a great example of what we are talking about here. And, you know, I love it. I love this kind of stuff. I love the unknown and all these principles. That's no moon. It's a spacecraft. You're right. So what the heck is this? And why would it look like this? I do think I might actually take a break, not so much because I really need to pee, but just also to give my voice a rest. And maybe we'll pull up the classic Nature Reel video here. We'll find something for you guys. Let's see here. Where would it be? Nature Reels. I think I know where it is. Nature Break Reels 2025. All right. So, got to show you one that's fun. We're going to find one that's good. I think, let's see. Yeah, maybe we'll do, since we talked about reptilians, we'll do this one, Colin McGeezer on the lizard people. And again, if it runs over time, let me know in the comments. If I'm running it for too long, I'm going to keep it on the right screen this time. But so here we're going to do Colin McGeezer on the lizard people, give you a little bit of a comedic break. This is a funny one that I did, and I like it. So I'm gonna take my microphone off. Maybe I won't run the whole video, but I just do need to get some blood sugar up and walk around a little bit and give you guys a chance to take a little break. So we're at 3,500 viewers now. Please don't leave. I'll be back momentarily. I'm going to mute my microphone, and I will see you guys on the other side of this in just a second. But we'll have a little fun with Colin McGeezer. Here we go. All right, my microphone is off, and I will now roll the clip, and we'll be back in a short period of time. Here we go. Thank you very much. All right. I have to say this is remarkable because the weather forecast said we were going to have scattered thunderstorms all evening until sunset. And then we just had a little bit of thunderstorms, and then it all went away. The weather was totally wrong. And I'm happy about that. Obviously. Because this is about as good as it's ever going to get living here. It's the perfect temperature. It's about, on the skin, it feels like 73 degrees. That's about how warm it is. It's not too bad at all. It's like an air-conditioned summer view. Because you never get too hot out here. It's too high altitude for that. We're at 8,600 feet. This is the place to be. You want to get things done in the forest and feel the energy of, look at this guy. I mean, this is just, they're beautiful plants. This is all wild sage. See that? See, we have these beautiful white flowers as well. Look at how nice they are. These haven't bloomed yet. We'll have to do a separate film for that. We have a whole bunch of these guys around here. And they have a very pungent, maybe not even all that great of a smell, but They're beautiful flowers, and they all pop for like 1 or 2 days, and then they're just gone. It's starting to happen a little bit right there. But it hasn't actually happened yet. So these are mining holes that they dug for looking for tungsten, which is essentially the red rock that we see around here sometimes. And in World War I, they drilled all this out with bulldozers and cut all the trees down to dig tungsten out of the ground. The U.S. government paid you by the ton for these red rocks. No questions asked. It's just easy, quick money. And look at this boulder over here. This one is very special. I love that guy, as you can see. The view gets really spectacular up here, of course. You can see how amazing it is just to experience this. If this was your everyday life, mate, you're walking around in the bush and you got these dangerous wallabies, mate, with their swollen bellies, their sharp teeth, criminal intentions. Goanna lizards, mate. They're everywhere. You might even be hiding under this beautiful boulder right here. Mate, I've seen the bad things in the bush. Stories not capable of being repeated. Dangerous creatures from other worlds with long fangs and a penchant for misery of human life, seeking out that elusive long pig for their culinary delight, mate. Grotesque creatures that smell like excrement and waste, living in a lie they tell themselves to keep their cover and remain clean from the influence of compassion or love or any other things that make us human, mate. All they care about is conquest, victory, and the sublime inspiration of creating absolute destruction and misery in the lives of others. It's not right, mate. It's not right at all. I told David, you got to be clear about this, mate. You can't overlook the creatures in the forest or pretend that they no longer exist and their names are hidden in old books of mythology. They're alive and well, me brother. And you better be listening when they talk to you, because they speak through the evil means that are all too easily acquired in today's world. Mate, I wouldn't be lying to you if I didn't say they were dangerous as all get out. These beings of impeccable taste who only seek humans as their main source of delight. They've lived with us for eons and eons, mate, going back billions of years. And they exist as a predatory existence of life, unencumbered by any type of feelings of shame about what they do, mate. They're unencumbered. They're unburdened by their shame, but unencumbered by its existence, mate. Conscience-free. They roam about in the sewers and the sludge and such things, going down, down, down into the abyss, unpleasantly reminded of what's really right in life, and then having to face their own shadow, which they immediately darvo on, mate. Deny, attack, reverse, victim, and offender. That's how they cover up their sins, mate. They make it like it's your problem, but you knew it really wasn't, didn't you, mate? You had that insight a long time ago. You just didn't listen to your heart. And now it's shoved in your face, mate.
You've got to deal with the fact that these ugly undesirables exist. What do, mate? You just go on, live your life, but make sure you know what's what, mate. This is not for the weak. This is your dear friend Colin McGeezer signing off, telling you, be strong, be light, and most of all, be brave, mate, because if you have to organise a piss-up in a brewery or some such, you better have the insight on how you're going to make that happen. Toodles! All right. I have to say, this is remarkable.
Okay, so I'm going to put this back on now, and we'll be all set. Okay, very good. We are back. I hope you guys liked that. We did lose some people because, again, there's people over in Europe, and they're just desperate to get. They'll come back tomorrow or later when they're ready. So anyway, that's fine with me. It's definitely nice to get that break. So again, going back to our slides, similar to this concept of Rendezvous with Rama, similar to this concept that we saw in Arthur C. Clarke's novel, this concept of ancient Death Stars and moons. I mean, it's directly mentioned in Star Wars. And again, we were told that, Star Wars being such a huge budget film, and George Lucas ran way over budget, that he was tipped off about Death Stars, that this is something they'd already discovered in the secret space programs, in the so-called legacy program, as they're calling it, in the movie Age of Disclosure. The Cat Max just donated and said right here, David, you continue to open eyes. May we never stop learning, teaching, learning. Much love. May the source be with you, Stephen and Bree. Thank you very much. All right. So definitely a lot of good things going on here. And thank you guys for being here. We're still holding true now at 3,170 viewers. That'll probably keep on going up. We're at the 2-hour mark, so we're right on track. Again, many of the moons in our solar system have these very ancient bases hidden inside of them. And anyway, somebody said my accent wasn't very good. He got moderated, but oh no, it got brought in. The Aussie accent was I think it's funnier if it's not accurate. So, anyway, it's not meant to be literally accurate. I could try to do that, but I like to have the accent veer between British and Australian and do other things. That's why I called it Scotting-Cock-Australian. Scotland and Cockney and Australian all blended together, mate. Makes me laugh, but it's fun. I like to have fun with it. And pretty good stuff. So anyway, again, all these different moons. The one we were looking at first is Miranda, which you can see there on the list of Uranus. What the heck is going on here? Especially extremely outrageous visible geometry from Zecharia Sitchin's, first guy who mentioned it. Clearly looking at some type of chevron shape from the outside. Very, very fascinating. This might be the result of, as we were told, these ancient build-outs, where some of the geometry inside might be coming out visibly. If you turn it upside down, it almost looks like the letter L, and it's much brighter and, pretty fascinating. And then obviously on the right, as you can see, there's also this thing that looks like the 5-sided geometry there, plus this big cliff. So this, again, what we might actually be seeing is that there's enough, the way that this was formed, maybe the moon itself was designed from the beginning. Maybe these beings, these ancient builder race people, actually custom built this one. We don't know, but it's a fascinating thing to consider. It lines up very nicely with their testimonies. So then in Saturn's moon system, we have a whole bunch of moons here, as you can see, Titan being the biggest one. Above it is Iapetus, below it is Hyperion, and then Rhea, and then a bunch of smaller ones. But Mimas is one of the ones that we're going to see here. So let's go back and look for Mimas. Where is it exactly? Oh, Mimas we're right there next to Saturn on the right in the middle there. Paltine, Methone, and then Mimas. Mimas is pretty freaking wild, and it's got some pretty crazy stuff here. So this is actually in 2012, Death Star spotted lurking near the rings of Saturn. Luckily, it's just an asteroid crater on one of the more bizarre moons found in our solar system. It's interesting they were seeding that narrative back then. Pity the poor NASA astronomer who saw the first images of this moon when Pioneer 11 flew by in '79. This was only 2 years after the first Star Wars came out. The film's iconic Death Star was very much in the public consciousness. The similarities are pretty startling, enough to make us wonder if Saturn's moon, called Mimas, is not actually just a fossilized, crumbling remain of an evil empire ship from a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. So yeah, it's pretty cool. It's got the same little shape that George Lucas had on the Death Star. The ring with the dot in the middle. I mean, it's pretty freaking wild. Luckily, it is not one of these, the Death Star from the Star Wars film. So pretty wild that there's such a great similarity there. Now, maybe he based the Death Star off of this, but it is interesting, isn't it, that there's this similarity in the shaping. And what's even weirder is the unexplained temperature anomalies, which are actually, as you can see, the heat is not on the equator like you would expect it to be. The expected temperature there on the left. The actual temperature makes it look more like Pac-Man, where the heat is off to the right. And so that may suggest that there is still some type of habitable world inside of there, and that they built their civilization on the opposite side of where the weapon would be, if you believe that that area is where, again, like the Death Star, that it would shoot out some type of particle beam. Maybe there are still people living in there, and maybe that's why the heat signature is there. Maybe the heat signature actually indicates intelligent human habitation. It could actually be. Valerianne Gritto says, it was great. Don't worry about all those haters. You're absolutely right. The accent should never be dead on unless you're in a film. I should know I'm an agent, LOL. It does look like Pac-Man, says Sarah Love. So yeah, I did these in a video from like 10 years ago, in 2015 or thereabouts, but it's definitely, in light of all the stuff going on in 3i Atlas, it's worth covering this again. That could be where people are actually living, where the heat signature is, away from the weapon system. And then we have strange, similar temperature anomalies on Saturn's moon Tethys, which again has this strange Pac-Man structure. And again, it's kind of, once again, they have a surface appearance where it looks like there's some type of emitter coming out, as you see there on the bottom right. It's the same kind of deal. So very weird, right? And Pac-Man shape found on one of Saturn's moons, actually 2 of them. 2 Pac-Man moons orbit Saturn, and Blinky is nowhere to be seen. This was on Huffington Post, back when I used to go there. Then we have another example, which is Saturn's moon Enceladus. This is pretty wild. And actually what we're seeing here, first of all, is the images from the moon, and we'll get back to those later. But then on the right is the actual south pole of Saturn. We'll get back to the moon a little later. So anyway, the predicted temperatures of Saturn's moon Enceladus, again, you would expect, because the equator is facing towards the sun, that would be where the heat would be. But no, the pole has by far the greatest temperature. Ho, Dave from Australia, says Perry Weber 3283. Thank you, mate. All right, so down there we have this striated structure. That is very, very interesting, because what we see is 4 rows of striations all together, and that could be actually like rows of build-outs, rows of places where beings may still be living there now. I mean, that's what they've told us, is that there's 57 different varieties of ETs here. They have various places in our solar system they can live. They hide out. And you would think that they might have these long hallways that they could live in, and that there's, you know, the heat signatures that we're seeing actually represent people being inside and, you know, living in there. It's really, really wild. And then you can see there's right angle geometry as well. There's really interesting structure going on there. So this is similar to LiDAR, radar, thermal collage images of underground bases that we see on Earth. Again, very, very interesting. That's probably one of the most compelling pieces of evidence right there. Like, what kind of natural process would create this type of geometry? It doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, does it? But if it's an extraterrestrial thing going on, then yeah, it could. So again, I want to take disclosure as far as we can go. I want to get it beyond the limits of just, yeah, they crashed some disks and we recovered them, but nobody's going to tell us anything. Let's try to just expand our imagination, figure out how far this is really going to go, because it's very, very interesting. Scruffy45 says the ETs occupy hostile environments knowing we can't get there now, and if we did get there, it would mess up their journey. Peter KJ7 says, I heard Heinz 57 back in 2008. Yeah, it goes all the way back to 1996. He was talking about this. Anyway, then we have Saturn's moon Iapetus. This is a really, really interesting one, and it's way, way out, far away from the planet compared to many of the other moons. So, again, we have Cassini, and this was all stuff that's on the now Enterprise mission website. Isn't even available anymore. But Richard C. Hoagland and I did a lot of work together, and this was some of his best stuff back in the day. He's still doing great stuff now. But, yeah, so full credit for him there, Enterprise mission. So the spheroid of Iapetus, he's got NASA imagery, and you really do see, like, what the hell, man? It's got this ridge along the equator. There's like a raised ridge right along the equator there that was very, very prominent. And it's really quite shocking when you look at it. And it's got 3 lines along it, and it pops up quite a bit. These are, again, straight-ahead public domain NASA photographs. And it goes on for like 60 miles. I mean, it's really, really quite something. And the belly band, he's calling it, 2,000-kilometer long ridge of change of mountains, exactly aligned along the equator. The website, unfortunately, is no longer online. So the only way you could find this now would be to go back to archive.org. Up to 20 kilometers high, narrow peak residing on a broader bulge. And so also very, very interesting, right along the equator, and there's this black and white type of distribution of colors on the moon. Quite fascinating, in fact. And then as the sunlight hits it in different ways, this was the thing that he found that really shocked everybody the most, is the geometry that's visible as the light is going across it, suggesting again that it could be a geometric structure on the inside. This apparently was coming to him in part from his own insider, who I also spoke to, Bruce. And you see that it doesn't look round at all. It looks like there's flat, straight lines here. I keep thinking about William Tompkins. Did he know about all of this as well? Maybe he did. So, you know, very interesting what we're seeing here. And anyway, you know, this is stuff that really, really defines a lot of new things for us. It's very, very interesting, very cool stuff. And then right down there, there's like something poking up off the surface of the moon. Looks like it could be a radio tower. I mean, who the heck knows what, but that does not look normal. That looks like some type of build-out, like an antenna or something. So really, really fascinating. Here's another image of it here that he shows, and how oddly geometric the surface is. Definitely not rounded at all. I mean, wow, what's going on there? And that one also is very, very fascinating. So again, the idea here was that there is some type of geometric build-out on the inside. So, you know, please look up Richard C. Hoagland, support his work. He's an amazing guy. He's still doing great stuff all the time. Truncated icosahedron, Buckminster fullerene, they're all interconnected here. And that was another illustration that was commissioned for the website, which again, the only way you can find it now is on archive.org. And the Death Star comparison. So, yeah, I mean, apparently Iapetus is one of the ones that really was studied by the Secret Space Program, or by, you know, Legacy Program as they're calling it. And, you know, you have the best moderators, especially Rod Feinstein. So anyway, yes. So signs may be visible from ancient ruins in South Africa. This is another really, really weird thing, right? Like, if the ancient builder race is 2.6 billion years old, maybe they are the ones that left behind the Klerksdorp spheres. Because this again shows up in Cremo and Thompson's classic book, Forbidden Archaeology, The Hidden History of the Human Race, where we're seeing, it says here, One of the most remarkable examples, this is from an article that I found online, of potential ancient artifacts published by Cremo and Thompson were hundreds of, quote, small grooved spheres mined in South Africa. According to Ralph Marks, curator of the Museum of Klerksdorp, South Africa, where some of the spheres are housed, the spheres are a complete mystery. They look man-made or human-made, yet at the time in Earth's history when they came to rest in this rock, no intelligent life allegedly existed. They're nothing like I have ever seen before, Jimison, 1982. They are found in pyrophyllite, which is mined near the little town of Ottosdal in the western Transvaal. This pyrophyllite is a quite soft secondary material with a count of only 3 on the Mohs scale and was formed by sedimentation about 2.8 billion years ago. There you go. On the other hand, the globes, which have a fibrous structure on the inside with a shell around them, are very hard and cannot be scratched even by steel. So that is what we've got, folks. And isn't it interesting how similar that looks to Iapetus? These are so hard you can't scratch them, and it even has the little Death Star thing on the front. I mean, wow. That is crazy, right? And this showed up in 2.8 billion-year-old rock in South Africa. So, again, one of the most fascinating things I've ever seen, seeing that connection, and 2.8 million-year-old rock clearly looks like somebody did this and that it was actually sculpted by intelligence and not just some random process. So what the heck is going on here? The Klerksdorp spheres. Well, the date sounds awfully familiar, and again, it ties in very nicely with the timeline of the Law of One. How many of our years ago was Ra's third density ended? And they said the calculations necessary for establishing this point are difficult, since so much of what you call time is taken up before and after third density, as you see the progress of time from your vantage point. We may say in general that the time of our enjoyment of making the choice, this is service to others, service to self, was approximately 2.6 million of your sun years in the past. However, and then they say, we correct this instrument, apparently she misspoke or didn't hear it right. Your term is billion, 2.6 billion of your years in the past. So there you go. The Law of One is describing that they were third density 2.6 billion years ago, and that could be your ancient builder race. They might actually have been the civilization that did this, and they said we had an affinity for the pyramids, and we built pyramids in many different places. So it's like, wow, you know, that's very, very cool, very fascinating to discover that type of a connection. 2.6 billion years in your past. However, this time, as you call it, is not meaningful, for intervening space-time has been experienced in a manner quite unlike your third density. Did the planet Venus become a fourth density planet at that time, 2.6 billion years ago? And they said, yes, this is so. So right before they were able to ascend and get to that next level, they were building this very advanced technology. So for a third density world, it was quite powerful. And really, really amazing when you start to look at how all these pieces connect together. Did it later then become a fifth density planet? It later became a fourth fifth density planet, then later a fifth density planet for a large measure of your time. These are the different cycles they go through. And at fifth density, they can project into any being they want. Both fourth and fifth density experiences were possible upon planetary influence of what you call Venus. So yes, this is the point. It appears that the Law of One source, Ra, actually was the ancient builder race as described in the Law of One material. And we were told, again, that our entire solar system is filled with these glass-like ruins. So, again, the narrative needs to be updated, and this is a very important part of how these different insiders have brought pieces together and combined them and given us this very, very fascinating study that we can now share and learn from. And Dr. Greer, with the Disclosure Project, as we talked about last time, that he had new insiders showing up. 39 different whistleblowers came forward altogether. And I was invited as a VIP to attend after being on Art Bell in 2001. I met most of these people throughout the week. And many of their testimonies, again, lined up with the Law of One series. Donna Hare was saying that ET artifacts were being airbrushed out of photos from NASA. And this was her at the original event. And this apparently included lunar architecture and things like this, and Mars. I believe she also mentioned that. So again, ancient history, lots of stuff going way back and people talking about it. Carl Wolf was talking about working for the NSA, that he walked into their office and saw photographs of lunar architecture, including dome-shaped buildings, mushroom-shaped buildings, and this all fits in very, very nicely with what we're now seeing, that some of this stuff apparently does go back to ancient builder race technology that just has this incredible heritage of time going back through history. Many insiders that shared this with me, that I put out their data over many years on the website. Sunny Sky says, family, if you enjoy this type of deep research, support David, smash the like, tell a friend, and donate. Yes, let's see how we're doing here. We're still at $1,200, so anybody that wants to donate more would be great. We can always use it. So there was a big gap in our planet, in our solar system's history after the 2.6 billion year mark, the Klerksdorp spheres. The oldest civilization of intelligence that the insiders tell me that appeared on Earth, so they speculate in these programs, was a sentient reptilian human species. So this is kind of the next stage of our journey. Apparently they got wiped out at the time of the extinction of the dinosaurs 65 million years ago. And so this is something that you keep hearing it from different people, that there was a reptilian race here on Earth that was, they definitely had something, that's a little bit too wild. Definitely had a reptilian race here that was, looked like humans and grew to be adult, hominids that were bipedal and that kind of thing. And they were wiped out, apparently, by groups that look more human to us. And they were wiped out by the extinction of the dinosaurs. And so there was some speculation that Earth's moon was brought in at that time, that Earth's moon did not exist before then, and that it actually created seasons on Earth, which it didn't have before, because the moon is actually what causes the Earth to drift to 23.5 degrees north, 23.5 degrees south, back and forth over the course of the year, whereas when the moon wasn't here, the sun might have been more stationary, the Earth might have been more stationary on its axis, thus creating more heat, allowing reptilian life to evolve more easily. So it is believed in these insider circles that there was some type of war that wiped out reptilian life that had been on the Earth that was sentient and humanoid, and much later, when the Draco incursion occurred, and we'll get into that, because that's when the Death Stars and all that stuff got deactivated. When the Draco incursion occurred, they found out about this ancient reptilian human race that had been on Earth, and they've since apparently made a claim that they own the Earth and that it belongs to them. And they're very, very serious about that. So the Dracos blame Nordic-type ETs for wiping out that original sentient reptilian race. That's the claim that they've made. And so some of the upsetting stuff that we're supposedly going to get from the so-called legacy program and things like this was this idea that the Draco now blame us, and that they claim that they own the Earth and that we have to pay them gold, water, or women, in order to pay rent for being here, basically, is how they see it. But again, I believe we're anointed by the Creator, by Christ, and that we did inherit the Earth, and the Draco's claim does not hold any validity. Starseed Essence just donated $50. Thank you very much for that. She says, happy Sunday fun day. Thank you, David, for the show today. Great information. Sending love and light to all in the chat. Well, thank you very much, Starseed. We really appreciate your help. And we're climbing back up now. We got 3,328 concurrent viewers, and we are doing very well here. So I love it. Okay. This apparently dated back again 65 million years ago. The Draco still claiming they own the Earth as a result, and they say they want gold, women, or water in trade for our title. So that means they actually do want the gold. There's supposedly over 200 different uses that they have for gold mined from Earth. That gets into the whole Anunnaki thing, the Zechariah Sitchin thing. Who were the Anunnaki? We don't really know, but one interpretation is that they were the Draco, and that they might have been, well, they did want the gold. And so Zechariah Sitchin says we were mining gold for them. Very, very interesting. how all this stuff goes and fits together. Imagine moving to a new place, acting like it's yours, and trying to take over their civilization. It sounds familiar, doesn't it? It says forever unlimited consciousness. And then Carolina Patriot says 47 might be mocking them with the gold that he put in the Oval Office. Maybe that's true. Who knows? Anything is possible. So yeah, they like water, they like gold, and they like to have slaves and or the food supply. So apparently that's the scariest thing, is that there's this sort of really negative aspect about these extraterrestrials, and that, you know, I mean, it could happen to you out in the woods. You could get eaten by a bear, you could get eaten by wolves, something like that. But this is another thing that apparently does happen sometimes, and why disclosure is going to be so difficult for us, why there are things that are so upsetting we don't really want to know about it. It's been a consistent element of what I've heard over the years. I don't want to get too upsetting in today's show, but yeah, that's part of the storyline that we keep getting. So I can't say that, but that's funny. Somebody was making a joke. So this is probably the darkest part of disclosure. We were told that there were a total of 5 different, the legacy program has identified a total of 5 different civilizations that came to the Earth. We don't have a whole lot of detail on what those 5 civilizations exactly were. Maybe I can find somebody who'll give us more information. But again, the history after the fall of the reptilian race, the next thing that we know a lot more about is 500,000 years ago. And so we've talked about this before, but this is the next big part of the story. Yeah, you're right. Somebody said that humans and dinosaurs existed together. There are places in the fossil record where you see human footprints next to dinosaur footprints. That's pretty interesting how that shows up. And there are images of that I've had in other shows. So as of 500,000 years ago, I was told by Hoagland's top insider Bruce that this is when the exploded planet Maldek actually blew up. And what was so weird about this was that, again, the Law of One gives exactly the same timeline for exactly the same event. So to me, that's pretty astounding when an alleged insider gives you the same information that you heard from others, from this actual esoteric source that's like channeled material. And pretty wild how this all fits together. So Anunnakis, David, what is it? Well, we don't really know if the Draco or the Anunnaki or not, if they're the same thing, but it could be. There is a rationale that they could be the same thing. So the exploded planet Maldek became the asteroid belt. And supposedly the oceans turned into the comets. They became dirty snowballs. The material of the physical planet turned into the asteroid belt. And all of that planet was wiped out. This is something Hoagland talked about a lot with Dr. Tom von Flandern, the exploded planet hypothesis, or EPH. Very, very interesting stuff. And that Mars was apparently once the moon of Maldek. So they destroyed the planet 500,000 years ago. So it says in the Law of One. Same thing I heard from the insider, Bruce, same exact number. This seems to be the key event that bridges the gap between the ancient builder race, so-called, and more modern humanity. So this is what it says in the Law of One. At one time space in what was your past, there was a population of third-density beings upon a planet which dwelt within your solar system at one time. There are various names by which this planet has been named. The vibratory sound complex most usually used by your peoples is Maldek, but Lucifer is actually another name. And yes, some people call it Tiamat. These entities, destroying their planetary sphere, were thus forced to find room for themselves upon your third density, the only one in your solar system at their space-time present, hospitable and capable of offering the lessons necessary to decrease their mind-body-spirit distortions with respect to the Law of One. So again, the Law of One has a very weird interaction with what these insiders claim to be true, and that has fascinated me since I first started reading it in 1996. You know, how much other tie-ins I'd already found with the research I've been doing over the years. So, you know, I do think the source is credible. I think there's a lot of intrigue to it. It's very fascinating. Axis Mundi says, dinosaur or dragon? If you look at the T-Rex skeleton, the arms look exactly like the arms or wings of the skeleton of an ostrich. That's interesting. Enki may have been a hybrid of a human and Draco. He was a scientist, created a slave race to dig gold on Earth. Enki was not the good one, says Paul Cannon 9289. And then we have Snort 5203. Everybody seems to now have like a number after their name. $49.99 donation there. Thank you very much for that. Really, really appreciate your help. So, yeah, this is really, really interesting. Try moving the line against the amount of money you want to donate. I used to have difficulty too, says Space Cadet Lottie. It is interesting now, like everybody here has got, it looks like everybody has a 3 or 4 digit number after their name. And I wonder what's going on. Is that like the number of times they've posted or what is that exactly? But almost everybody seems to have them now. So interesting. Memphis Wendy doesn't have one, but she says, don't forget to smash the like button. All right. Anyway. So they destroyed their planetary sphere, forced to find room for themselves upon your planet. They actually became, the Law of One says they became the Neanderthals, that these higher level beings, because they all had karma from destroying their planet, they had to reincarnate as Neanderthals. And these beings are trying to make really sure that doesn't happen to us again, which is good. We don't want that to happen again. The destroyed planet became the asteroid belt. As I said, the comets are the oceans, the asteroids are the crust. And again, Hoagland talked about Tom von Flandern and his exploded planet hypothesis, where he traced back the pathways of the comets and the asteroids and showed that they all reunify back into a common center that started this whole thing out. Oh, Beverly Adams says YouTube is putting numbers after the names. Interesting. We're not really sure why. She's now Beverly Adams 1300. But yeah, everybody's getting a number. The numbers come from people who have the same name, says Forever Unlimited Consciousness. But yeah, that's just part of what we're doing now. We're all getting tagged as we go along with numbers. That's just part of the game. But thank you guys for participating. Thank you for being in there. We're now back up to 3,500 viewers again, which is great. So how did they come here, he said? They came through the process of harvest and were incarnated through the processes of incarnation from your higher spheres within this density. So harvest is, again, this process of, it's not anything bad. Hoagland and I used to talk about that. You know, he said it sounds like it's some type of nasty thing, like people are being harvested like food. No, no, no. It's actually a quote from the book of Matthew, the harvesting of the weeds and the wheat. That the weeds are plucked out of the wheat but one by one, and the weeds are gathered into bundles and burned in the Father, Mother, God's barn, and then the righteous shall shine like the sun. So harvest is a very specific term in the Law of One that, again, ties in the Bible and connects to that biblical prophecy of Matthew 13, where we're going to be transformed by this angelic cosmic consciousness. And B2R Storm says, do I have a number? No, apparently you don't. If YouTube is doing it, then why doesn't everyone have numbers, says Original? Well, not everybody is getting them, but a lot of people have them. I'm checking my number 2. I hope I like mine, says Betty Jo Brayford 7419. It says if the name already exists, and then they probably suggest numbers after. It says Axis Monday 1986. Anyway, David deserves more thumbs up. Thank you for that. Appreciate that. So they said, how long ago did this happen in our years? And he says, I'm having difficulty. We must deepen her trance state. This occurred approximately 500,000 of your years ago. Again, perfect alignment with the inside testimony. As I said, they reincarnated supposedly as Neanderthals to alleviate the karma of destroying their entire world. And Mars was actually a captured moon of this planet originally that was Earth-like with its own oceans, and that people were living on there. There was a civilization on Mars and a civilization on Maldek, and both civilizations were destroyed in the same cataclysm. So the people that we now have, the first people like us on Earth, where did they come from and how did they evolve? This is where this started up. You speak of your third density experience, it says. The first of those to come here were brought from another planet in your solar system called by you the red planet Mars. So there you go. I'm reading a couple of your comments here. Somebody says, Sunny Sky says, my number is 8675309. I wonder if maybe the numbers popped up because some of our moderators are allowing comments through that were automatically moderated by the algorithm. That might be. I'm just wondering. Pancake House Psychedelic. I engage in medium work for hospice patients to show them proof of the soul before they transition. What are the feline cat entities I've been seeing during this sort of work? They're intelligent and friendly looking. That's a good question. Nobody really spoke exactly about that. Ross Feinstein says they are Lyrians, I guess. But anyway, now everybody's got numbers, and that's okay. I'm wondering if the numbers are changing or if they stay the same. But anyway, no big deal. No big deal. So this planet's environment, Mars, became inhospitable to third-density beings. The first entities, therefore, were of this race, as you may call it, manipulated somewhat by those who were the guardians at that time. And then there was a positive extraterrestrial human group called Yahweh, placed them here 75,000 years ago, immediately after the explosion of the Lake Toba supervolcano, which again is another weird layer of the harvest thing. Every 25,000 years there's like a catastrophe where the Earth basically gets rototilled, such as by volcanic eruptions, and there's like a Noah's Ark event, and we are prepared for a new third-dimensional civilization. So there's evidence of cataclysms happening 75,000 years ago, 50,000 years ago, and 25,000 years ago. They all kind of show up that way. And so that's pretty cool. That, we have that renewing process that, everything gets really done. Oh, Beverly Adams says, I was involuntarily tagged with 1,300 months ago. Now it's happening to a bunch of people. Anyway, everybody seems to have one. That's really weird. If you have an original name, then no numbers, but if it's not original, then you get the number. Okay, so I guess that just means they want to know exactly who you are. You have a specific tag. Hi, fam. Oh, it says, hi, fam. Sunny Sky says, if you don't like your number, you can try changing it here. YouTube.com/handle. Anyway, it's not a big deal. It's just that, the moderators are allowing some of these auto removed comments through. Some people don't have it. Other people do. Yep. Numbers are usually given once you have an account registration. Okay. Anyway. Now let's go back to our insider revelations. We're going back now to the time period of around 500,000 years ago, leading up to that cataclysm. The insider Bruce described a race that he called the progenitors, which appears to be different than the ancient builder race because they were much more recent, from the 700 to 500,000 years ago. These people were very tall. They grew up to be 70 foot tall. And this is another thing that I heard from multiple insiders, that once you leave your home world, gravity is removed from you, and as you explore the universe, you become much taller. So this was a graphic I made at the time when I first did this show, showing you the difference between a 70-foot tall human skeleton versus a regular human skeleton. So again, Uncle Jack told me about the idea of people getting really tall. Bruce told me about people getting really tall. Pete Peterson described that. This was another thing that a lot of different people showed me. And so it's pretty fascinating, actually. So yeah, it seems like most people have, they won't let you have a duplicate screen number. The number is new as of today, says Joe and Doe 2029. All right, well, it's probably just something they're doing to be able to give everybody a unique stamp. And, so just be on your P's and Q's and don't write anything that you could get in trouble for, and it should be fine. Anyway, somebody doesn't like one of the moderators. Sorry if that's what's happening. We'll try to be cool as much as we can. So 70-foot tall beings, if 3i Atlas is a traveling ship, in fact, if there are beings inside, according to what Uncle Jack and others told me, then the beings inside would be huge. That would be an interesting aspect of what we're seeing here. Space Cadet Lottie says, I keep getting advertisements for dating websites. I'm getting trolled for YouTube for being a one-man band. Well, some people have the numbers and some don't. I think it's just, again, if you have something that other people already have, the same handle, then you're going to get a number. It's most of the people now do. So anyway. It's only the third known interstellar object, 3I Atlases, ever to enter our solar system. Oumuamua and Borisov were the first two. And it's interesting, too, with the fact that these beings left behind these glass-like ruins, that the Louvre describes a glass-like pyramid. A central part of the Da Vinci Code, remember, the secret to the Jesus bloodline was inside the pyramid at the end of the movie Da Vinci Code. You actually, they end up finding the bloodline DNA inside that pyramid. So there he is next to the pyramid looking down through the floor in the scene at the end of the movie, and that's when he sees it. And, so it's pretty wild. So the super Earth, again, exploded 500,000 years ago, creating this mega catastrophe. And the insiders told us that this deactivated this 2.6 billion year old protection grid that we had around our solar system. Now we have another donation that just came in. This is Louise Boone. And she says, T. Moore says Yellowstone will destroy a lot of the West Coast in spring 2026 with earthquakes and ash. Any thoughts on this? I don't think we're going to have any type of big disaster like that going on. So anyway, Kimberly Koenig says it's because copycats and copyrights of influencers, criminals going down. Yes, boom. So I don't know what that, but anyway. Everybody, most of the people now, I'd say 3/4 of the people now have numbers. So apparently after this grid went down, this protective grid of these large satellites, that's when the Draco were able to invade our solar system. And this is when Uncle Jack said that they began modifying and tweaking our DNA using the DNA from 6 other races throughout our solar system. This is also part of Zecharia Sitchin's work on the Anunnaki, that apparently our DNA was created, that they used DNA from all over the galaxy, and that this is part of why we have the appendix, that the appendix was originally an organ that we would have had that would have created a flow of nutrients between the bottom of the colon and the liver, and it would cause us to live for 900 years, and they edited that out. So another thing that we have is shingles. The shingles is kind of like a scaly thing. That's related to the reptilian inheritance again. So BB Girl says YouTube is putting numbers after screen names to ensure that each username is unique. It's just part of the handling system. Many people may have similar names and numbers are automatically added. I guess it's just a new policy they have. It's probably happening to everybody. JW7H4T says, what do you think about the law of one describing gravity as beingness? Is that what holds our souls to our bodies? Yes. The law of one says gravity is the desire of the universe to be drawn back together. They analogize it with love. They say basically that this is like, the loving energy at work. And so, again, very, very fascinating how those things correlate in the law of one with, real physics, that the actual process of gravity, of bodies to be drawn together, is described in the law of one as love, the universe wanting to reunify in loving consciousness. So, anyway, the DNA was cherry-picked from all over the galaxy, and another thing that they did, they created in us, is the desire to create and worship idols. The Draco Reptilians apparently wanted us to have this, desire to worship idols, because that means that we would be great slaves for them, which sometimes they take us in that way. That's part of what's happening here. So, the movie Jupiter Ascending has a lot of really interesting things in it that are correlated with some of this disclosure. We have reptilians that show up in the movie, and we have this spacefaring race that is actually going around and mining humans. That's what it turns into. So the Jupiter Ascending, very likely, it's strange that they did this movie after The Matrix. It was a sleeper. It wasn't really very popular, but has a lot of narrative elements that correlate with disclosure in it, including this idea that the Draco control the Earth and that they want payment of rent for being who they are and for being here. So again, our DNA was tweaked by various means, and humans arrived here on Earth 250,000 years ago. That's what they were saying. Beth Noyes says the number thing is now everywhere. I noticed it about 2 weeks ago. Okay, good. So it's not just us. It's everybody's got these numbers now. It's not just this show. So it's just a new policy they did to make everybody unique, and that's fine. Michael Susky says, good show today. Thank you very much. We're back up to 3,500 viewers. We're at the 2 hour and 49 mark. Sue Brightstar says, thank you, David. I appreciate the amount of work that you put into each Sunday's chat. That is awesome. So thank you very much for that. And anyway, we're doing great. So this was a study that I linked to in that other show that I did. I'm using some of these slides. Studies shows humans are evolving faster than previously thought. Results of the largest ever genetic study of a single population could help refine dates for major events during our human evolution. Master Kenobi says, great show, David. Greetings from Master Kenobi. So humans are evolving more rapidly than previously thought. According to the largest ever genetic study of a single population, scientists reached the conclusion after showing that almost every man alive can trace, or woman, can trace his origins to one, well, maybe it's man specifically, his particular blood type, to one common male ancestor who lived about 250,000 years ago. That is shocking, isn't it? And it's not exactly the same as the data that we were given, but it fits pretty closely. Beverly Adams says, does blood type and RH factor have anything to do with different races, spiritual significance? It might. Some people speculate about the RF thing. I don't get too much into the RH thing. I don't get too much into that. Space Cadet Lottie says, I love it when we get lots of slides. I don't like it when we don't get to see all of your preparation. Well, it's not new, but again, I am running some things I did before, but it's time to bring this stuff up again. So one common male ancestor is what it says here. The genetic Adam lived about 100,000 years more recently than previously understood, which again, that would go back to 350,000 years ago if it was before then. Humans must have been genetically diverging at a more rapid rate than we thought. Carrie Stephenson, the company Decode Genetics and senior author of the study, said it means we have evolved faster than we thought. And it also shows the most recent common male ancestor was alive at the same time as mitochondrial Eve, and the last woman to whom all females alive today can trace their mitochondrial DNA. So if for some reason, as Vakapala was asking, you can go divinecosmos.com/donate, and that is a direct link. That is one way to do it, but again, we really welcome and admire your super chats. Dr. Phil XR says, Brian Sykes' 7 daughters of Eve traced all men to one Eve via mitochondrial DNA, and there were 7 groups, birth goddesses. I hadn't heard that one before. That's pretty cool. Okay. So, the migration of the people from Tiamat and Mars to the Earth is what they talk about in the Law of One, and they had outposts here, the ancient builder race going back for 2.6 billion years. Multiple cycles of civilization occurred on the Earth, with Atlantis only being the most recent. So when we're talking about the progenitors, Earth's moon was the crown jewel of their collection. This is something, again, that we were talking about before, this very, very fascinating concept. Multiple insiders have said that the moon is a huge build-out, that it actually does function as a vehicle. This was William Tompkins mentioned this. I heard it from Uncle Jack. I heard it from Pete Peterson. I heard it from Bruce. I heard it from Henry Deacon. It's a very common thing that the insiders tell you, that the moon is actually built out on the inside, that apparently what they would do is they would have an object the size of a baseball that has nanites in it, and they send it backwards in time, and these little nano robots would come out, and they would actually go in there and dig out and build machines and intelligently build what they needed to build the civilization, so that now in the present, from the time when you released the baseball, it's already there. So you use time travel, you send this little robot back in time, potentially billions of years, and now you have your entire inner civilization built to order. He said that it depended on what materials that it would find, and that some of these places in the moon have 10,000 floors, that there were giant beings in there. The beings that survived the destruction of Maldek apparently migrated to the moon. That's where they went next. They lived inside the moon. They were very tall, and they had they left their bodies and ruins behind. Again, very, very fascinating information. So here's the moon as we see it from Earth, the man on the moon, And Sunny Skies is saying, hi, fam. I'm seeing 2 people saying they have trouble making Super Chat donations. And if that is the case, you can go to David's website. That's right. divinecosmos.com/donate. If you're having any trouble, that's where you would go. And I really do appreciate it. So as of 2014, is the elephant in Jupiter Ascending a real race? Yes, that gets back into legends of people that look like that inside the Earth that have happened. Clearly, Brooke just donated. Thank you very much. And she's talking about the Voyager material. Yes, we've heard of that. I don't entirely endorse that stuff, but it's okay. Thank you for bringing it to my attention. So 2014, this is really, really weird. This huge square that was found on the moon. Yes, Ross Feinstein said, David, what about the people of Maldek and Mars becoming Bigfoots due to the radiation death in the Law of One? That's one of the things it said, that Bigfoot was one of the beings that was created from the people of Maldek. Not Mars specifically, but Maldek. That is true. So check this out. Gravity data suggests flats of volcanic basalt formed from tectonic stretching. But look at this. There's a square. When you look at it from the top down, it's actually got a square on it. And that looks like the side of a cube. Strikingly geometric surfaces on the moon. Strikingly geometric shapes. And you see the red outline there. This is on space.com. Again, this might be part of the drip, drip, drip of disclosure where they're getting you ready for the idea that the solar system has these huge build-outs in it. And we're going to learn that as time goes on. Newly discovered rectangular structure sheds light on the moon mystery. Yes, so Vakapalo just published the link. So that's one of the places you can go if you want to do that. In the comments, you can see that right now. So again, thank you for making that clear to everybody. And that's one of the places you can go. So this is really weird, right? It's like, how did that get there, and why is it there? How do you get a square on the moon? Well, maybe it's because there's, again, a geometric superstructure under there that goes back a long way in time. Could very well be. Hi, I'm Kwan. He donates 1,000 yen. He says, Blavatsky and Theosophy Society mentioned Polarians, Hyperboreans, Lemurians, and Atlanteans before our age. Where do the progenitors and reptilians fit in this timeline? That's a good question. The progenitors and the reptilians, I would say, are probably both older than those. Teresa Dastrup says, this is very amazing, David. Thank you for sharing. Appreciate that. So then we also have the geometric pattern of the PKT border structures compared to Enceladus's SPT. There again, Enceladus is the one that I showed you before that had the striations of lines down in there. But again, this weird superstructure in the moon. Prosolarum rifts, they were calling it, on the cover of Nature magazine. And notice that the C's, the mares, are inside the square. That's all very flat stuff. And it again suggests that there's some type of superstructure in there that we don't really fully understand. Best song right now, says Ray D, is Sweet Madam Blue, the 6-minute version by Styx. Hashtag America. Sunny Skies just donated $1. Thank you very much. There is an option to email on the website. divinecosmos.com is where you need to go for that. So here's another thing that I'm going to show you. And this is the square craters that were described by NASA. NASA's NEAR Shoemaker spacecraft spotted square-shaped craters on asteroid Eros, which orbits around Mars, a telltale sign of mysterious goings-on in the asteroid belt long ago. In the pantheon of cosmic geometry, curves rule. Astronomy texts are filled with spiral galaxies, elliptical orbs, and rig nebula. There are no chapters on triangles or rectangles. After all, who ever heard of a square planet? Some of the simplest shapes, common in the handiwork of humans, are just plain rare in space. Rare but not impossible. Last month, astronomers were studying pictures of asteroid 433 Eros when they noticed some unusual craters. Most impact craters are circular, but these were square. An overzealous fan of Star Trek might mistake these scars for places where cube-shaped Borg vessels touched down and lifted off again, but scientists say they are natural, albeit unusual features. So again, this could be possibly that we are seeing evidence of the progenitors of the ancient builder race, that they built out square underground rooms, and that as they got hit by asteroid hits over time, that those dented in and became the square craters that we're now seeing. Isn't that interesting? When you look at it, it's really, really quite phenomenal. And again, very, very fascinating stuff here. Same thing we see on the moon, and here it is from the side. And so, again, we were also told by the insiders that the movie Forbidden Planet was actually a disclosure about the superstructure inside the moon. And so this is the racy cover of the original movie poster of Forbidden Planet, with kind of a Vargas type of image there with the woman in the Robbie robot's hands. But this was like the biggest movie ever made at the time. It had the biggest budget, and it was, not cheap. It was the most expensive movie ever made in terms of special effects and all this stuff. And there's this group of people who go to this planet in this flying saucer type of thing, and they come to discover that the entire planet has a massive build-out on the inside. And so this is a scene from the movie of this ancient extraterrestrial architecture. You get to see this scene where they're walking down this ramp inside the moon. It's really quite fascinating. And you see how beautiful it is. They really did a great job with this conceptual artwork. This was not built by humans. So this may be actually based on stuff that they saw inside the moon. That's what I was told by several different insiders. Ross Feinstein said, I literally just saw it as a movie for the first time. And Ross Feinstein said, the movie is so good. Yeah. What is the movie? It's again called Forbidden Planet. Lynn West says, David, I love this information. All right. Hello, Wilcoxers, says T-Webs1111. I've been lurking. This stuff is great info. That's the flying saucer from the song Voice of Q. I don't know that song, but anyway, the important message from Forbidden Planet was how the mind can create monsters from your id. You're absolutely right. We need to keep our thoughts uplifted and not be based in fear. So yes, that's part of what it is here. So this is an image from inside the moon. It's really beautiful to conceptualize this stuff. And notice also that what do we see there on the right? We see some type of particle beam emitter. And then this is another image of what was apparently inside the moon, or their visualization of it, showing these shafts that connect. Again, they said 10,000 floors. So maybe there are these air shafts inside certain places. And that might be the case. So anyway, we have this, again, was the monster from the id, this monster that got captured in the energy fields from the planet. People, yes, the planet designed this monster to attack people who were violating the security of the facility, and they found out that their own minds created the monster, that this ancient technology that was inside the moon exists, or the planet in this movie's case, existed as some sort of consciousness amplifier. Pretty freaking cool. 3,400 viewers watching right now, by the way. So this monster was created from all that stuff. And it's a very, very interesting movie. So, yeah, there's a lot of things to explore here. And this is a very, very fascinating subject, the idea that the moon has a build-out inside. Mars might be similar, but is stationary and unable to be repaired. There's a lot of other stuff we could talk about, but we are running out of time here pretty soon. What movie? Again, the movie is the Forbidden Planet. Kwee 2.0 says, David, I'm not excited about holidays. It's always a reminder of how alone and misfit I feel from my peers and family. I wish to be more uplifted. Thank you for this family here each Sunday. I'm glad you guys are here, and I'm glad that you can watch the show with me. Yes, Forbidden Planet is a pretty incredible movie. David, what do you think about the Vril Society? Well, it's kind of off topic, but yeah, definitely there's something to that as well. Anyway, so yeah, we're at the 3-hour mark. We've been doing this for a long time. We're up to $1,500 in our chat donations. So thank you very much for that. Thank you for supporting us and keeping us alive, keeping us on the air. Our own technology, as the old show said, is much closer to the goal than we think. And this was a little video from Harvard showing the nano robots, but because I can't really do videos on here, we're only going to show you a very short piece of that. This is just a title screen from it. Untethered miniature origami robot that self-folds, walks, swims, and degrades. So I can't really show you this, but because you can't do videos here. Anyway, some of the people who this one of the testimonies that we got was that the moon might have not been around the Earth until 500,000 years ago. There's different theories inside the secret space program or legacy program. One of them was, again, that the moon might have been flown away from Mars and Maldek at the time that it all blew up and then flown around the Earth, and they had to fly it into gravitational capture or else it would fall into the sun. They flew it into Earth in this impossibly perfect orbit, which allowed them to start terraforming. But they also know the moon was heavily damaged on the inside. So that's another big part of this, that when you go inside these areas, most of them are not explored. Most of the areas inside the moon are still in ruins. There's still bodies in there, and very few people have ever actually even explored it. So it's still pretty much left alone. Penny Olson says, David, I always enjoy your videos. It's almost like you're speaking directly to us. You provide an outstanding message. Disregard trolls and negative comments. We love you. So, yeah, a lot of interesting things going on here about the moon. And there was one theory that the moon was 25, that it was from the 65 million years ago, that it came in around the time of the dinosaurs being made extinct. There was another theory that it was only the 500,000 years ago that it got moved into place. But what we do know is that the people that survived that planetary catastrophe on Maldek actually relocated inside the moon. They became less tall. They got down to around 25 feet in height from their other height before, because it's a smaller planet and the gravity is different, I guess, something like that. And so they had a robust civilization on the moon for a really long time. And they kept it going, and that's where you get your glass domes and your glass spires and all that kind of stuff. The civilization was rebuilt in glass domes on the surface, and they began visiting the Earth and creating settlements here, which eventually grew into a vast civilization in northern Africa. So again, there was a war there. Apparently 55,000 years ago is when they crash landed on Earth, and they started to build out this whole thing on the Earth, although some of it might have been older than that. But the whole top third of Africa, you notice, is all dead and dry. And so that's because it all got blown up in this war that apparently was between the people that were on Earth, the first civilization of Atlantis now, and the Draco reptilians. So again, this story can go on and on and on. And love you, David, and great job, moderator, says Violet Dragon, one of the people who doesn't have a number after her name. Although now there's several people coming in that don't have numbers after their name. Okay, Ray D just donated. Thank you very much. Promoting a particular podcast. Happy Thanksgiving, says Valentine Puppy. Yes, it was a nuclear bomb in northern Africa. Actually, every desert was a nuke from their fighting a long time ago. That could be. Great. My son is deployed to South Africa. Well, it's not radioactive now, but it certainly was before. So anyway, this is a story that's now going to segue into Atlantis, into other things. We can go a lot farther with it, but we're getting kind of long in the tooth here for the show today. But I want to point out that this civilization migrated to the Earth from the moon. That the moon, one of the things the guy told me was that the moon was hit by something, and in the more recent analyses from the Legacy program, what they're calling it now on this documentary, that it might have been from a solar flash. There might have been some sort of ejected material from the sun that hit the moon and caused everybody inside to get destroyed, rang the whole thing like a bell, maybe created more of those mares, the C structure that we see, exposing the geometric substructure we were looking at. And only 3 ships apparently survived out of the moon, and they barely made it to the Earth. They crash landed in Antarctica. And this gets into your Antarctic Atlantis, another huge, huge subject that we can cover again later on. But again, they built out a huge civilization in northern Africa. And one of the big things that we were told is There's tons of artifacts from 40 to 400 feet below the surface of the desert, and that when we went to Libya, when we went to Iraq, and we went to Afghanistan, all of these wars allowed us to seize high technology artifacts. And we have multiple insiders who talked about that, these incredible things that were found in the Iraq Museum and Afghanistan Museum and so forth. High technology objects. We don't need to go anywhere. You just stay here on Earth, and these artifacts are right here on the Earth. Sandra D. says, thanks, David. You do speak to us like a close friend. You do an awesome job. Each time you educate us with your knowledge, we love you. Linda Kiesling says, I am a reincarnated Atlantean. This is my territory. Skane Pag says, I love these subjects. Scruffy45 says, great show, David. Keep up the good work. So, Sunny Skies, thank you very much. We know who that is. And he's still working, but not for very long. He gets moderated pretty quick. Anyway, so it's been a good run here. We've had a good long time on the air, and I'm happy that we did this. I have winds coming in tonight. It's going to be very, very intense tomorrow. We're getting up to 30 to 40 mile an hour winds here, and I'm going to have to try to get some good sleep tonight and try to have a better life, because when the wind comes in, you can't really do much of anything. It's a very, very bad situation. But I'm really glad that I've been able to be with you guys here today. And it's been a great show. So all of these different wars, multiple insiders told me that these high-tech artifacts were seized. And so that's a very fascinating part of our history. And so let's go ahead now and create a slide here. So we want to So we see that the entire northern third of Africa was completely wiped out in this war. The Draco came in, blew the whole thing out. You can see that desert. It's the biggest desert on Earth. And they're telling me also that Egypt was the surviving highlands of the original civilization. There's tons of these artifacts under the desert, 40 to 400 feet down. Multiple insiders, again, confirming the military is routinely accessing these items. The insider Bruce said, we never need to leave the Earth to find all of this great stuff. The enormity of what we actually have that we can find here on Earth is simply mind-boggling. And society will change very quickly after we get full disclosure. These Egyptian priests apparently located multiple caches of books, storing them in the Library of Alexandria. That Pete Peterson told me that he got to inspect some of these books directly, and that there was actual technological diagrams of spaceships and space stations and how to build them, and that this stuff was inside the ruins. It's really, really quite amazing that they were able to dig down below the pyramid. Now we see the pyramid tunnels, really cool things like that have shown up. And that he was able to read these books. Some of them had unbreakable pages. Some of the books were like barcodes and nothing else, just pages and pages of barcodes. Really wild stuff. And so, it's pretty fascinating. Very small number of survivors from the lunar disaster, whatever destroyed the moon after they migrated there. Again, just a few spaceships. They crash landed on Earth 55,000 years ago, which fits very nicely with the Law of One and the Casey readings, because they talk about Lemuria being wiped out 53,000 years ago. Question, I was wondering about the advent of the Atlantis and Lemuria. Where did they come from? This is the last question. The civilizations of Atlantis and Lemuria were not one but two. Let us first look at the Mu entities. This is people that were indigenous to Earth, not this technological civilization now. They were beings of a somewhat primitive nature, but had very advanced spiritual distortions. The civilization was part of this cycle experienced early within the cycle of approximately 53,000 of your years ago. There you go. Same digit again. So weird that I was given basically the same number by insiders that shows up in the Law of One. It keeps on happening. A helpful and harmless place washed beneath the ocean during a readjustment of your sphere's tectonic plates through no action of their own, but it was the warring of these other people. They set out those who survived and reached many places in what you call Russia, North America, and South America. The Indians, of whom you have come to feel some sympathy and your social complex distortions are the descendants of these entities. Like the other incarnates of this cycle, they came from elsewhere. And again, Indians, we call them Native Americans now. That's what it was. That's how they phrased it in 1981. These particular entities were largely drawn from a second density planet, which had some difficulty due to the age of its sun to achieve third density life conditions. This planet was from the galaxy Deneb. There you go. So once again, a fascinating correlation between the Law of One and what happened here. But now we're starting to get into the history of Atlantis. And this is how, again, the people that came from this moon that then crash landed on Earth in their spaceship interbred with humans and became fallen angels. And their children became 12 to 13 foot tall, red-headed, white-skinned giant humans. So in the future, we will do a deep dive again on giant skeletons, which many insiders have confirmed. And the whole civilization of these people who colonized here was wiped out 50,000 years ago in that disaster that created the desert, which corresponds with our 25,000-year cycle of ascension. And then after this is where new groups recolonize the Earth once again. So we're probably going to do more on the history of Atlantis in a future episode, but this is enough for now. I've given you guys an enormous amount of information, so let me go ahead now and create a slide that we can use to do that. Okay, so we will bring that back up. So again, I'm really excited about what's happening in the world with disclosure right now, and I'm open to a couple more questions you guys might have. Anybody wants to ask me a question, this is a great time to do it. The same enemies folks had during the days of Atlantis are reincarnated at this time, and you can recognize their soul signatures. That is freaky, says Space Cadet Lottie. I wonder what color their skin was. I don't know what the answer is to that, Karen Burns. Is it not in Collinsville? The monument of Heinz 57 is located near the Pyramid of Cahokia, is also a hotspot for ET activity, says Vera Gardner. I don't know anything. Well, I do know about the Cahokia Pyramid, and it's pretty incredible. But you want to get, Patriot Shepherdess wants to get back to more Archangel Michael time-looped readings next week. Well, let me see if I can spend some time developing that. I've had a lot of things going on that have kept me busy, so I've had to, be very careful about how I develop the show. And anyway, we're looking at everything we got here. Let's see what happened here. Okay. Sunny Skies moderated somebody about talking about a book, but I don't know. I haven't heard of that book exactly. But anyway, what about the Black Pyramid in Alaska? Do you know much about that? Yes. The Black Pyramid in Alaska is part of the ancient builder race, and I was told by insiders that it's filled with grays. And so these ancient builder race glass-like monuments still exist all over the solar system. We'll probably talk about that some more. Yes, Oromo Art also wants to hear more Michael readings next week. Linda Korsiak says, I hope it's all smoothing out in your real life. Well, part of the problem is that I have foam mattresses on regular box springs, and so the heat is too high. And they build up heat, and that makes it difficult to sleep. So that's what I've ultimately figured out is the reason why I'm having so much insomnia is because of the heat buildup from these foam mattresses. And I haven't had the time or the ability financially to actually replace them with the right kinds of mattresses, the right kinds of, you need a slatted wood foundation underneath, actually. So that's something I still need to do. Stefka Filipov donates $100. That's really great right at the end. Thank you so much. She says, thank you, David. Valerie Ann Gritto says, I know it's been said before, but you truly are an inspiration. Keep going. You are assisting civilization in ways you can't even fathom. Thank you and yours. God bless you. Christ is King. Did you get that new car? Yes, I did. It finally happened. It took a long time to get there, but it finally happened, and I'm very great about that. Very happy that happened. Please tell us what happened to Princess Kate. Is she alive? I don't know anything about Princess Kate or that she might not be around. Jesus said, if they say I'm in the upper chambers, don't believe them. Do you think he's referring to the pyramid? I hadn't heard that one. That's interesting. I'd like to get more information on that. David, did you hike to the Sedona Stargate when you lived there? I want to, says Elizabeth. Elizabeth EB8MW. I don't know. Maybe I did. I've definitely been to various places in Sedona. What do you think of the first wave of people ascending? Andromeda Daisy asked that question. Well, it could be happening. It could be happening pretty soon. I mean, who knows? I think there's a lot of different factors involved in this, and it's pretty freaking cool that we're living through all these fulfillments of the very things that we were told to expect. Look, age of disclosure, okay, they might be steering the narrative, but even if they are, it's bringing more people into awareness of what's really going on, and I like that. Angel Metal Mantras says, thank you, donation. Thank you, David, for continually being there during this ascension process. Thank you very, very much. We have Extal Did J, any Stavati news? Well, I can't go into detail about the actual news per se because of the policy that we have, but I will just say that there are several things going on that are very exciting. Deals that I've already talked about before that are moving forward, other things that are moving forward, and it's a good time for us. So we're very happy, and that's kind of how we roll around here. So no big deal. Definitely part of the process of how we're going through all this, that it takes time to get to that level and to be able to be fully realized as a company, but we're getting there. And so Marcy Me 13 just donated. Thank you very much. And I'm happy that you guys are here with me today. It's been great. It's been really fun to do this show. Very excited for Stavati, says Linda Korsiak. Brett J says, just do you, Dave. Great show, good times, great audience. I love you guys. I mean it seriously. I really do love you. What do you think about the new fact that Atlantis isn't that old? The 9,000 years were only months. There's nothing that special about it. It says Gov Eid. I hadn't heard that one before. Anyway, all good stuff, and happy to be here. Happy that you guys are here with me. We've had a great show. 3.5 hours is about as long as they tell me I should really ever want to do one. So we're kind of coming up on that now. So let's work on our meditation. We'll do a nice meditation here, work on it together. All right, so right for now, happy to be with you, David, says Valentine Puppy. Love you all. All right. Here we go. I'd like you to close your eyes now. Put both feet flat on the floor. Take a nice deep breath. Let it go. Again, take a nice breath in. Give yourself that benefit of what can be achieved when you move into the space between words, the place of stillness that resides within you. As years, decades, centuries, and eons go by, human civilizations lie in forgotten footprints from the past. We reunify with these memories. We go deep into our own angelic history. We feel the glory of what it would mean to be able to travel through time, to view different civilizations throughout Earth's past, the history of our solar system. We are grateful for the work that we shared here today. We are grateful for learning about all these new things. We're fascinated by the connection between 3i Atlas and 31439. Rendezvous with Rama, a cylindrical ship coming into the solar system. How did this happen? We're grateful for the opportunity to have the overview perspective, to understand that there is nothing to be afraid of. The universe is fundamentally alive, intelligent, and benevolent. Going through our history, looking into the forgotten pages of the past, remembering who we were before we came here, thinking about how civilizations come and go, they rise and fall, that even 2.6 billion years ago, The source of the Law of One is saying they completed their third-dimensional curriculum and that they apparently became the ancient builder race, leaving behind enigmas of glass-like pyramids and ruins, the Klerksdorp spheres in South Africa. So many amazing things that we're finding out. Looking through the pages of our own history, the forgotten pages of the past, finding new things to explore, new information. We are grateful to learn of our own suppressed history. We are grateful to find out that we have never been alone. We are grateful for the process of disclosure, for all that is coming into view. We are grateful for being privileged enough to know that there are loving, angelic beings in the universe that guide over us, they watch us, they protect us, they keep us safe, and we invoke and encourage their participation in our lives. In the name of Jesus Christ, Father, Mother, God, we understand and affirm that there are angelic beings, that we are not alone, that not all ETs are bad, that we are being visited by many, and this should not be feared. Although there are negative groups, we have incredible protection in place here on earth, incredible protection, keeping us safe. We thank you, Father, Mother, God, for creating such a vibrant and populated universe. We thank you, Jesus. We thank you, Logos. We thank you for the consciousness of our galaxy. We thank you for the guiding light of compassion, forgiveness, patience, protection. We thank you for being willing to guide us through our stages of evolution, to help us become ever more complete as the true God sparks that we all are, God and Goddess sparks, all living together, all experiencing more than we could ever imagine of what it means to be alive, to be human, to be radiant, glorified beings who can live in that compassion, live in that grace, live in that glory, live in that remembrance of who and what we really are and how we came to arrive here on earth based upon progenitor groups, various transfers of populations that have occurred throughout time. We embrace the mystery, we embrace the unknown. We're very happy to see that there is such a robust history to our solar system, so much that we didn't already know, so much that we can explore as we take it step by step, day by day, going through the faded pages of our own history and learning who we really are and what really matters as we move through the vaulted corridors of the divine, going back to the original nature of ourselves in the universe, the nature of who and what we really are. Civilizations rise and fall almost like the tides. Civilizations have come and gone from the earth for millennia. Civilizations have come and gone through our solar system for countless eons, some of them leaving behind glorious architecture and leaving behind an ancient history that can still be discovered even now. And we are grateful for that history. We are grateful for our combined inheritance, for the remembrances that we share. We do not wish to overstep our boundaries. We understand that there's only a limited amount of information available to us right now in third density. We embrace that which we can learn, and we are so grateful about the spiritual processes of seeking the Christ that are always available, the processes of looking to be more compassionate, more loving, more forgiving, more patient in our everyday lives, knowing that there's always times where we could be angry, but we can just as easily step away, take a breath, remember who and what we really are, breathe back into the true nature of the self, the true nature of consciousness and the soul, and affirm our own lives, our own protection. Affirm that which we really are. Affirm that we have been here for a divine purpose. We are here for a reason. We are here to share love. We are here to be with one another. We are here to glorify the one infinite Creator. We are here to revivify ourselves and become something greater than we ever thought we could be. For in the grandest sense, we are the light. We are the love. We are the one infinite Creator. And this is as it was, as it is now, and as it always shall be. And nothing and no one can ever take that from us. And so it is. In the name of Jesus Christ, and Father, Mother, God, we thank you for this work today. We thank you for our communion and fellowship with one another. And we bless you. And may we hope to emulate your image and emulate your example in our own lives and our own actions. Amen. All right. You guys like that? It was a good meditation, huh? I decided, since we might start doing some short videos, somebody sent me some interesting prototype short videos that I didn't want to do so much of this like really long, drawn out fade stuff. I tried to make the fades a little faster because the meditation is a good place to do that. So yeah, that was cool. In the name of Yeshua the Victorious, so will it be, says Vacapalo, donated. Thank you very much. Ormo Art said, thank you, so beautiful. M. Shingidi said, love it. Valentine Puppy says, power thoughts. Johnny 2B says, happy Thanksgiving, everyone. We shall meet up at the same bat time, bat channel. Thank you for all your time and energy, brother. Ghost of Adi. That's right. This is amazing, David. I don't mind if you do a guided meditation I can buy from you. This was very powerful. Thank you, David, and thank you to all those who stuck around. Yeah, we still have 3,000 viewers right now. This is a gathering place for sure, says Eye of State. He. Or here, I guess. And so again, let's take the energy that we raised, send it to all those in need of prayer and healing in the world, heal the conflicts, heal the wars. Let's try to raise that vibration. Let's feel the consciousness moving through everyone and creating the healing that we need on planet Earth, because we always want to meditate for peace as well. So we affirm and invoke that as well. In the name of Jesus, we thank you very much. We have love from Sweden, from Petra Bliss. Carol Nalchiel says, thank you, David. You are the best. Happy Thanksgiving to all. Venus Renata says, thank you so much, David. We love you. Eric Goodian says, thanks to all you do, David. Beverly Adams says, great show. Christina Trefan says, be thankful for everything. Emily Howard, happy Thanksgiving. M. Shingidi says, he donated, says, David, you should really consider creating a guided meditation. Bevy13, thank you for another great show, David. Absolutely brilliant meditation. The whole show was beautiful, says Soul Coach Suzanne. Kiko the Inevitable says, great show in all. Lewis, are you still off of weed? Yes, I've been completely sober for months now. Sometimes I miss it, but not enough to want to relapse. So anyway, we're doing great here. I didn't know that. Somebody got kicked off. But anyway. Beautiful, peaceful meditation creates a true unified Christ community. Much love and deep appreciation for you always. Kwee says, thank you to all the mods. We love you all. Have a great week. That's right. I want to thank you guys for being here today. Thank you for the presence that you've shown. Triada just donated. Thank you for the stream, David. Please review messages deleted and timeouts by moderators. There might be some misuse going on. We'll advise them about that. We're doing the best we can. Eat mushrooms. They are good for you, says Elite Toy Motors. Great things are ahead. So much food for thought. Thank you, David. Have a great week, everyone. All right. We're at the end of the stream here. Thank you, guys. Barring any crazy stuff happening, I will be back with you next week. Thanks for watching. Bye for now. Oops. Here we go. And scene. That's just what you say when you want to end a show as a director.